A girl of the forest. As April drew closer, so did Easter. The town was flooding with posters, bunnies, and Easter eggs. Leighton Hall, the mansion, was filled to the brim with colorful flowers and streamers. But so was the forest, where Lindy, Scott, Davy, Charles, Ferdinand, Bella, Marianne, Zoe, Taisha the bird, and Seasons were preparing for the holiday, with even more color than the hall. Lindy, a 13-year-old orphan, had run away from Leighton Hall with Taisha 4 months ago, when she was a scullery maid. In the forest, she met Seasons, a woman who controlled the seasons while changing with it. She had a gang of helpers called Forest Children, and Lindy joined them. These days, they were busy collecting flowers for the big day. Unlike streamers, the flowers were fragrant. "I do love being a forest child," sighed Lindy as she walked towards Seasons' cottage with the other girls, mounds of flowers in their arms. "There you are! I'm making new clothes for the lot of you, and none of the boys could help except for Ferdinand," said Seasons, a cute girl with brown hair. Lindy found it hard to believe it was the same person. Seasons was an old woman in winter. The girls sewed the cloth together into clothes: dark green shirts, brown pants, and grey socks. Lindy found that all the girls were good at sewing, and so was Ferdinand. The other boys, however, were holding the needles like swords. "Dear me, don't hold your needles like that!" exclaimed Seasons. "Leave the clothes to us. You can send out party invitations to the animals." "Now," said Seasons as the boys came back from handing out invitations, "there's nothing better than Easter eggs on this holiday. We have eggs, of course, but none of us have tasted chocolate eggs for long. Who can go into town and buy some?" Immediately, everyone started shouting. "Well, let's see. Zoe, she often runs errands, and Davy and Lindy too." Zoe, Davy, and Lindy set off towards town. Taisha flew after them, chirping merrily. They passed dozens of shrubs, where Davy collected sweet berries from every shrub. Zoe took out a few slices of bread, which they ate on the way, Lindy giving the breadcrumbs to her bird. The town came into view about 20 minutes after they began, and oh, wasn't it grand! Tall buildings loomed over the streets. Brightly colored cars zoomed about. People were everywhere. Lindy watched the buses in awe. They were so different from the carriages in Leighton Hall, the manor she used to live in. The kids wandered around until they spotted a small shop with the perfect Easter basket, 3 beautiful eggs, and jelly beans cushioned with flowers. "We'll have it," declared Zoe to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper said, "That'll be 15 coins, please." The kids fumbled around in their pockets and stared in horror. They forgot to take Seasons' coins. The shopkeeper smirked and shook his money bag. Then Lindy had an idea. She grabbed Davy's berries and Zoe's bread and said, "Perhaps you would trade." The shopkeeper chomped on some of the bread and popped a few berries into his mouth. "Geez, these berries are nice, but the bread's a bit burnt," he mumbled. "Well, now that you've eaten some that's ours, you'd better either trade for the lot or give us some change," said Lindy, putting her arms across her chest. The shopkeeper groaned and obliged. The kids walked away from the shop. "My word, that was a good one," giggled Zoe. "I've been going there for ages, and I've never been quite as successful as that." They weaved around the streets, and as their snacks were gone, they couldn't resist a few Easter jelly beans. But Lindy noticed a woman in an old-fashioned dress. She was kind of familiar. Lindy remembered who she was with a jump of horror. She was Mrs. March, the housekeeper of Leighton Hall. The woman used to slap Lindy for every unclean plate. By now, Mrs. March had recognized her too. "Lindy!" she shrieked, running towards the girl. Lindy couldn't go back to Leighton Hall. She started running the other way. The others were right behind her. Mrs. March, being in an old-fashioned dress and leather shoes, was no match for the quick forest children. "Police! Catch those children!" she called, and half a dozen policemen were stampeding towards the kids. "Quick, in there!" shouted Zoe in alarm. They zipped into Fresh Delish supermarket, a horde of policemen rumbling right behind them. Fresh Delish was suddenly bustling, with 3 children sprinting down the aisle, 6 policemen right behind them. They ran right into an empty trolley, and Davy lunged at it. They half ran, half rode the trolley down the cheese aisle, where an old lady was checking out the cheddar. "Hello, dears," she said slowly. "Hi there!" screamed Lindy as they rushed past. The policemen rushed past the old lady seconds after the children did. Unlike Lindy, though, they bellowed, "Out of the way!" "How rude!" cried the lady, tottering after them and brandishing her umbrella. The kids flew past a man who was examining a jar of jam. His 4 kids were playing beside him. Then the basket Davy was holding caught on the shelf. 4 kids yelled in delight as the flowers in the basket rained down on them. Then they screamed as 6 policemen tumbled past, stepping on their toes and smearing cheddar onto their shoes. After that, they gaped as the lady tottered at top speed past them. In all the confusion, the forest children had caught all the confections and, abandoning their trolley, ran onto the street. It was quite a sight for the people on the street as the 3 forest children ran past shouting, "Excuse us, sorry!" with 6 roaring policemen after them, an old lady after the policeman, and 4 kids following, yelling with anger. The policemen were pushing people aside. More and more people were following after the rude police. Sprinting down the street, the children saw a bus by the road with a door on either side. "In there!" called Lindy. The policeman saw them running inside and heard, "Hey, where are your tickets?" They followed at top speed. The last policeman ran inside the second the door closed. They bellowed with triumph, not noticing the kids going out the other door. "Phew!" sighed Lindy as they walked down the empty street. "Good thing we got out of there fast. But now we can't find our way back to the forest," Zoe pointed out. Just as they were panicking, they heard a tweet from an avenue. It was Taisha, and she was leading the way. The kids followed down the path and were soon in sight of Seasons' cottage. "Well, well, look who's here," called Bella merrily. "You've been a long time. Went for a stroll in the mall?" "Nope, but we were chased down all the streets. You'll never guess who we met," said Davy. They told the others about everything. Seasons was horrified. "I can't imagine what would happen if they had caught you. Lindy, I think you must stay in the forest." Lindy nodded. She didn't need to meet anyone from Leighton Hall, not one bit. There was silence before Ferdinand shouted with delight, "Hey, look! Easter treats!" The children yelled with glee as Seasons put the chocolates on a plate. Marianne came with delicious seeds and nuts for Taisha. Scott hung flowers on the trees around the cottage. And the guests were coming. Blackbirds, doves, blue jays, canaries, robins, and birds Lindy had never seen before were fluttering towards the cottage. They dived towards the plate of seeds and nuts and pecked merrily at the food. Seasons cut the eggs with a knife, and each of them took a bit. Chocolate has always been a rare treat for Lindy, and the girl couldn't have been more delighted. It was 5 minutes before the Easter brunch at Leighton Hall, and Mrs. March was still at the dining room table, gasping for breath. Yes, it was definitely her. She was in different clothes, but I recognized her face. "Calm down, madam. The guests are coming in," pleaded a young maid. Indeed, Mrs. March's Easter would never be quite as good as Lindy's.